Hi, this is Banjot Kaur. I report on health for Down to Earth magazine. Yesterday something funny happened. Press Information Bureau, which is the communication arm of Government of India, put out a press release. But quietly after putting out that release, it deleted just one sentence out of that fairly long piece. Now what was that release about? That release was about, yes, the COVID-19 Indian vaccine, about which you might have been hearing since July 3. On July 3, you heard that the Director General of Indian Council of Medical Research had written to 12 institutes and hospitals of this country saying that the Indian vaccine against COVID-19 should be out for public use by August 15, 2020. And that letter also said that if they fail to do so, they will face serious consequences. When it created a lot of outrage and drama, on July 4, ICMR issued a clarification. The clarification said that the letter was not meant to threaten people but just to cut the red tape so that the bottlenecks in the trials are removed. However, the clarification was again silent on the deadline. But on July 5th, the most funny thing happened. So what were the acts of commission and omission that PIB committed on July 5? Well, the sentence that was deleted out of the release was something like this. Along with two Indian vaccines, COVAXIN and ZyCOV-D, the world over 11 out of 140 vaccine candidates have entered human trials. None of these vaccines is unlikely to be ready for mass use before 2021. So this was actually excerpt of a bylined article released by India Science Wire, and the article of the India Science Wire was put out on the behalf of Ministry of Science and Technology by the PIB. India Science Wire is a science news platform funded by Central Government's Department of Science and Technology, and the article in question was penned by veteran science writer TV Venkateswaran. So after I tweeted it at 4:44 PM, almost about an hour after the release was put out, somebody alerted me that the particular sentence has been edited out of the release. When I checked out the press release, to my utter surprise, the sentence was not there. Till date, if you read the press release, you will not find why that sentence was deleted and when it was deleted. Now this is something very common, that if you delete a sentence, you indicate to the readers in the disclaimer that it was deleted and for this particular reason it was deleted. So I reached out to PIB official with Science and Technology Ministry, KG Sharma. He said it was an inadvertent error. The sentence slipped into the article without his attention. He further said that the article was put out to just let know the people how the vaccines work and not to set any timeline or to give any deadline. I asked him why was sentence deleted. He again said because it was just not meant to be there. Was sentence factually incorrect? He initially evaded the reply but later said that it was factually incorrect. Then I reached out to the author of the article. I asked him if he stood by the sentence, and what he said to me, I quote, "Maybe when you make a guess about a vaccine, you can't really make a forecast like this. And why did PIB delete that sentence? Making a speculation is not correct," he said to me. "In the current context, PIB might be thinking it is better not to give a timeline and cause unnecessary apprehension. Nearly year 2021 is what I had said because that is what many people are saying in their articles. But I am not the person who is actually doing the research." I again asked him if in his personal capacity he stood by the sentence. He evaded the reply and just said the things are contextual. Now this was the third straight flip-flop on Indian vaccines. But beyond these flip-flops, we have to understand why such a claim of August 15 deadline was unscientific at so many levels. To understand that, we have to know what are the three phases of clinical trials. The three phases of human clinical trials are actually preceded by preclinical trials which take place in animals in laboratory settings. After they are completed and we have some sort of positive results, the three phases of human trials start. In the first phase of human trial, the vaccine is tested for its toxicity, that is, whether the study participants are able to tolerate the vaccines or not. We spoke to Dr. Shahid Jamil, an eminent virologist and also the CEO of DBT Welcome Trust India Alliance, so that if he could figure out a timeline for us. He said the first phase may take 1 or 2 months, as 2 shots of the vaccines are to be given 2 weeks apart. If the vaccines produces good response in the first phase, then in the second phase it is tested whether the study participants are able to have a good response against the virus if they are given the vaccine. That is, we test the immunogenicity of the vaccine. Now this, he said, may take 4 to 5 months if 2 to 3 shots are given in a gap of a couple of weeks. If the results of the phase 1 and phase 2 are positive, the agency, in this case Bharat Biotech, will have to approach the regulator, that is Drug Controller General of India, again to seek permission for the third phase of the human trial. The third phase is conducted on fairly large number of participants, usually in thousands, to see if the vaccine is efficacious. If the vaccine works on at least 50% of the study participants, it is said to be efficacious. Now, analyzing this whole process and this third phase usually takes 6 months, but that is also not in the hands of researchers. Higher the transmission in the population, better the chance of conducting the third phase trials. If the transmission goes down, it may take more than 6 months and can stretch anywhere between 8 to 10 months. So if we do these calculations, we may find that Indian vaccine may well not be available by 2021, a fact that PIB India press release deleted. I also reached out to 2 investigators of the trial who will conduct the research for ICMR. One of them wished to remain anonymous. When I told him about the letter, he was in total disbelief. He asked me to check with ICMR if it actually meant what it said in the letter. He told me that it was just impossible and he thought that ICMR would edit the letter and send it again. Another investigator, Dr. Venkata Rao, Institute of Medical Sciences and SUM Hospital in Odisha, said, "If I make a wild guess, since multiple sites are involved, we may do a simultaneous phase 1 and phase 2 trials. Only they can be completed by August 15. How can the remaining be completed by this date can only be decided after a discussion with ICMR. When I asked him if he would be under any sort of pressure to speed up the trial, he said, absolutely not. Even if he would be asked to speed it up, he will not do it because according to him, the first and foremost principle of clinical trial is to ensure that the study participants undergo no harm. Also, the preclinical data is not available in public domain. Neither has Bharat Biotech, the company producing the vaccine, has put it, nor ICMR has come forward to be transparent enough. Now, when ICMR is claiming to make the world's fastest ever vaccine, what experts say is that it could have at least be transparent enough. What is preventing ICMR from releasing these details is something that only ICMR can tell. Experts also say that by putting a deadline, ICMR is trying to impinge upon the rights of the regulator, in this case the Drug Controller General of India. The DCGI is very much free to take its own time to study the results of phase 1 and phase 2 and then give a permission for phase 3. But when ICMR says that the vaccine has to be made available by August 15, of course DCGI will be also under a lot of pressure to overlook the important details of the study. Also, let's try to understand how other experiments for COVID-19 vaccines are going around in the world. Till date, only one vaccine candidate, which is of Oxford University, has entered into the phase 3 human trial. In a press statement put out on April 12, Oxford University said that it will take at least 12 to 18 months to develop this new vaccine. Moderna Inc., a US-based firm, has also completed phase 1 and phase 2 trials. It took almost 4 months to complete phase 1. Now it has completed 2 phases and is all set to launch the phase 3 with 30,000 participants. A look at the timeline of this experiment suggests that it was conceptualized way back in January. Yet another vaccine candidate of Chinese firm Sinovac Biotech has also completed 2 phases of human trial, and it is all set to launch the 3rd phase. This vaccine candidate was also conceptualized in January. So while all these vaccines which have completed phase 1 and phase 2 and have entered phase 3 or are about to enter were conceptualized way back in January, it is baffling for the experts to understand how come ICMR conceptualize it in July or a month before this and say the vaccine will be out in 40 days.